How did you start with Kid Ink? What was the impetus for that?
I wanted to create this comic strip where the characters covered the whole spectrum. You had some kids who just loved technology, and then you had some teachers who were torn between. I mean, they saw the benefits, but they also saw some of the challenges. And then you had one of the dads who was just a complete Luddite. He didn't care for technology at all. And then if you threw all that together and you mixed in some American business and some American pop culture, what would happen? And it just seemed like a really uh, promising mix of characters and story, and it would be really topical all the time because it would relate to what was happening, every day, not just in our culture, but in people's lives. It was great. It's what you want as a writer. You want these characters to take over, and you want to hear them in your head, uh, and you want them to resist. Like you try to make them go somewhere because you want to put a message in your story or something, that you as the author think, oh, I could do something here, and the characters completely resist that. They go their own way, and when that happens, then it feels like you're on to something, and that happened with the very first strips of Kidding. And a big turning point was uh, finding the artist Eric Owen, because I had worked with several artists before that who kept telling me, um, you, you know, you're asking for too much. You want these comics to look a certain way, but some of the Sunday panels you want them to be really big to where fun things can happen with machines and time travel, and they're
Yeah.
saying, you can't do that. So when I found Eric, he's just an amazing artist, and he loved all those challenges. Sadly, he since has, well, sad for me, but it's good for him.
Yeah.
Is he not only did he get a great full-time gig at an education company where he creates characters for learning materials, also is working on some comic books, which has been a dream of his. But from the very beginning, the idea was to create an animated component. And one of the things that I loved about Eric's illustrations was he really looked at it from that point of view. So when you look at his character designs, sometimes they'll look like animation stills almost.
Yeah.
And that was very deliberate. It just seemed like the perfect format for that.
And family dynamics as well. It's not just about.
Yeah,
It's not because
yeah,
it's all about the different people and
yeah.
their relationships with each other.
There's several relationships in the strip, sort of key relationships. Chip and his dad, Chip with the technology and his dad against it, and what a strong relationship they have. But there's also, Johnny Green, who is the kid capitalist in the strip, and his dad is sort of the CEO poster boy for, American big business. And they have just this incredibly loving relationship. In his big office, he has his big CEO chair, and he has a little CEO chair for his son, and so there's that relationship. Then there's, Media Jean, whose parents named her for the future, thinking that media, by the time she grew up, would be like the air. You would
Yeah.
just be able to access it anytime and share it anytime. Well, she and her fourth grade teacher, Miss Stillwater, have a very unique relationship because Miss Stillwater's kind of an old world school teacher. So when Media Jean tries to make a case for attending fourth grade virtually, and she sends, Chip in with a laptop so that and Chip puts the laptop on the desk, and Media Jean tries to attend the class that way, you know, um, it creates all these wonderful dynamics between those two characters. The whole heart of the strip, way back when it started, was how technology could be a generation gap, like the new generation gap. It applies today in a way because there are a lot of folks who feel technology is causing some problems in society and relationships. But at the same time, the technology can be an amazing tool to connect people,
Yeah.
and um, for people to express themselves, like with hit record. I mean, none of that would be possible
Right.
without the technology connecting people. And so sort of the soul of Kid Ink is about how do we use the old and the new, um, young and old. I mean, all of these different things that traditionally keep us apart sort of go from the basis of accepting each other. How can those things now come into play in a positive way?
Right.
And I think that that comes across in a lot of those strips. The characters have a lot of fun at each other's expense, but it always comes back to to a place of love.